Hi, how's it going? This is Resident of Collinwood, and I'm here to do an audio recording of my story, my Dark Shadows Halloween crossover story, entitled Hell on Halloween Night in Collinsport. I am reading this straight from my Microsoft Words. I'm not reading this from the blog. Um, so, here we go. Hell on Halloween Night in Collinsport. It is the morning of October 30th, 2007, and we see a red Ford Escape driving along a snow-filled road. Behind the wheel of this vehicle is John Tate, the son of the late Laurie Strode. John continues driving as the snow begins to pour down. John's visibility is very limited, and considering he's never driven in the snow, he's trying to be careful. But knowing what the date is doesn't help matters, and John steps on the gas. As he does, John's front wheel hits a patch of black ice, causing his car to spin out. John tries to regain control. John tries to regain control, but it can't, and his car crashes headfirst into a guardrail. The crash causes the airbag to deploy and catches John right in the face, bloodying his nose. John's vision is blurry from the car crash. He is a little dazed, but still aware enough to realize what has just happened. John unbuckles his seatbelt and gets out of the car. He looks at the car is embedded into the guardrail. He knows the car is totaled. John Tate. Just my luck. John looks around and listens. He hears no cars or anything resembling a vehicle, so he begins walking in the direction he was driving his car. He walks a couple of miles, and finally he can just barely see what looks like a sign. He walks closer to it, closer. Finally, John sees that it is indeed a sign. He is directly in front of a sign. It reads, "Welcome to Collinsport, Maine." John Tate. Collinsport, Maine. The snow lifts just a little to reveal the town of Collinsport. Directly in front of John, he can see people are moving around on the snowy streets. A snow plow is plowing the one and only main road in and out of town. While there are others who are going to work, and there are those who are going into what looks like to be a diner, John also sees the Halloween decorations and is all too reminded what date it is, October 30th, the day before Halloween. He does not want stuck in any town, especially on Halloween. John then spots a truck. He begins walking into town. Meanwhile, inside the diner are cooks and waiters. Cook and waiter D. Sampson, customers Jack Love, Doug Yates, Peter Prescott, Mindy Davis, and Olivia Collins. Mindy and Olivia are sitting at the same table. I gotta scroll down. And are talking to one another. Mindy Davis. So, your folks are throwing their annual Halloween costume party. Olivia Collins. Yes, indeed they are. Guys, I can't do a woman's voice, okay? D. Sampson and other people in the diner can't help but hear Cindy and Olivia's conversation. D. Sampson. Your family always throws that Halloween party for the little kids after they get done trick-or-treating. Olivia Collins. Yeah, ever since 1990 they've been doing this. I think what my grandfather and father realized was you can't shut yourself off from the world. So every October 31st they decide to let the world in, even if it is just for one night out of the year. Mindy Davis. What about your cousin Barnabas. Will he be there? Olivia Collins. No, probably not. He likes his privacy way too much. So for him, he probably won't attend the party. Mindy Davis. Every time I have been to the old house with you, he's always staring at me. Olivia Collins. He's like that with everyone. He just is really suspicious of everyone and everything. Mindy Davis. Oh, wow. Meanwhile, back outside the diner, we see John Tate at the driver's side door of Peter Prescott's truck. John looks in the driver's side window to see the door is left unlocked. John touches the door handle of the driver's door and opens the door. But as he does, he hears a clicking sound and a voice to go along with it. The voice. Freeze! Close the door, then put your hands in the air and turn around and face me. John backs away and shuts the truck door. Puts his hands in the air and turns around. When he does, he sees the barrel of a gun pointed right at him. John looks at the police officer. He sees a star on his chest. Says sheriff on it. John Tate. Look, sheriff, I just want to leave town as quickly as possible. If you could just look the other way just this once, you would be saving a lot of lives. Just then, Sheriff Chance Hopper yells at John. Sheriff Chance Hopper, get on your knees and put your hands on your head. And I'm not going to tell you that a second time. John can see by the look in the sheriff's eyes he means what he says. John has no chance but to surrender. Meanwhile, with Sheriff Hopper raising his voice, everyone inside the diner has come out to see what the commotion is about. Just then, Olivia Collins, Mindy Davis, Jack Love, Doug Yates, Peter Prescott, and Dee Sampson come out to see the sheriff arresting a young man. Sheriff Hopper puts handcuffs on John and then reads him his rights. Sheriff Chance Hopper, you have the right to remain silent. You have the if you waive the right, anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You also have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, the court will provide one for you. You understand your rights as I have read them to you. John Tate. Yes. Do you understand how fucked we all are? Olivia Collins giggles. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Olivia, that's not funny. Olivia Collins. I think he's kind of handsome. So handsome, you got a name. John Tate. It's John Tate. Olivia Collins. I'm Olivia Collins. John remembers the name of the town being called Collinsport. John Tate. Is the town named after you or something? Olivia Collins shakes her head. Not me. Named after my family. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Alright, you two, knock it off. The sheriff takes John away. The two begin walking to the sheriff's office. Once they get there, we see Deputy Linda Hawk on duty. She watches Sheriff Hopper bring a young man in the jail cell. Takes his handcuffs off and gives him a shove into the cell. He then shuts the cell and locks it. Linda Hawk. Who's this, Sheriff? Sheriff Chance Hopper. He says his name is John Tate. He tried to steal Peter Prescott's truck. He also made an idle threat against this town. So I arrested him for attempted vehicular theft. Deputy Linda Hawk. Oh. My, whose vehicle did he try to steal? Sheriff Chance Hopper. Peter Prescott's truck. I caught this son of a bitch trying to steal his truck. Caught him red-handed. Just then, John shouts, John Tate, listen to me, you dumbass. The only thing that's going to be red is this town. It's going to be blood red. from all the blood that gets spilt because he's coming for me. Sheriff Chance Hopper pulls out his nightstick, walks over to John's cell, and hits the bars with his nightstick. Sheriff Chance Hopper, that's enough out of you. I don't give a shit who's coming for you. I wouldn't give a shit if it was the boogeyman himself. I wouldn't let you out of there. John Tate backs away from the bars and sits down. John looking at Sheriff Hopper and Deputy Hawk. John Tate, you're gonna eat those words. I promise you that. Deputy Hawk looks at John's face to see some dry blood down beneath his nose. Deputy Linda Hawk, Sheriff, did you hit him? Sheriff Chance Hopper, no, I didn't. What happened to your nose? John Tate, I crashed my car. An accident 5 miles past the Collinsport sign. Sheriff Chance Hopper, alright, I'll get a tow truck to bring it in. Deputy Hawk looks out the window to see the sun has gone down. Deputy Linda Hawk. Well, looks like it will have to wait until morning, Sheriff. It's dark now, so everything will be closed, Sheriff Chance Hopper. Alright, first thing tomorrow morning, call Ed Jacobs, telling, and have them bring it here, and we'll run the plates. Meanwhile, high on top Widow's Hill stands a great house, the home of the wealthy Collins family. Olivia is just now pulling in with her Hummer. She puts her vehicle in park and shuts off the engine and gets out of her Hummer H2. Olivia then enters the great house. She has lived here for 19 years. Olivia Collins, I'm home. Just then, Olivia's father, Howard Collins, gets up from the couch and walks out to the foyer. Howard Collins, Olivia, you're finally home. Well, what do you think? Olivia notices the house is filled with Halloween decorations. Fake ghosts hanging from the ceiling, fake spider webs, and fake spiders on some of the walls. There are even some on the staircase. There is also a fake mummy's tomb next to the old grandfather clock. There's also a fake witch on a zip line flying around the room. Olivia Collins, wow, Dad, you really outdone yourself. This looks great for the party tomorrow. Howard Collins, I knew you would like it. Catering will arrive tomorrow morning and be preparing food throughout the day. It's already come across the television that there's going to be a 2-hour delay for school tomorrow, so that means school will be cut short, but as far as I know, everything will be ready by tomorrow night. Olivia Collins, everything and everyone will come? Howard Collins, you are in a better mood than me. It is just a party, or is there something else on your mind? Olivia Collins, like someone else? Howard Collins, oh no. Is this the day I feared you're going to tell me you met a boy? Olivia Collins, I have met a boy. I met him today in town while he was getting arrested by the sheriff for trying to steal Peter Prescott's truck. Howard Collins and Olivia have walked into the drawing room. Howard Collins, well, I can't approve of his taste in vehicles or attempt of stealing one, but I do approve of his taste in you, my dear. Howard saying with a chuckle. Olivia Collins, he's a very strange and seemed really scared. Howard Collins, well, old Chance Hopper can be scary to look at, let alone the idea of being locked up. Olivia Collins, no, it wasn't the sheriff or the idea of a jail cell that scared him. He seemed desperate to get out of town, like he wanted nowhere near Collinsport for some reason. There was sheer fear in his eyes. I can't help but wonder why. Howard Collins. He must have been desperate to get out of town. Look whose truck he tried to steal. I could have bought him a brand new truck or even a used one. That's way better than old Pete Prescott's truck. Olivia Collins. It's all so strange. Howard Collins. You know, this sounds like a job for our dear old cousin. Olivia Collins. Oh my God, Barnabas. I wonder if he'll come to the Halloween party. Howard Collins. Well, there's only one way to find out, my dear. You know, I just realized something. I'm going to have to go back and fix. So Olivia gets up from the couch and walks out into the foyer and gets her coat off the coat hanger and puts it back on and walks out of the great house and begins walking over to the old house. After a while, she finally reaches the old house. She knocks on a door, then Leonard Wood opens the door. Leonard Wood. Oh, hi, Olivia. Barnabas is in the drawing room. Olivia comes in and takes off her coat and hands it on the coat hanger as Leonard closes the door to the old house. After she hands her coat, she walks into the drawing room of the old house to see Barnabas sitting by the window. Barnabas Collins. Olivia, it's so nice to see you. I take it you're here to invite me to the annual Halloween party. Olivia Collins. You are correct, my vampiric cousin, and I hope you'll say yes. Barnabas Collins smiles at Olivia. Barnabas Collins. I'll tell you what. I'll strongly consider it. Olivia Collins. Oh, this is great to hear. Barnabas Collins. You look like you have something else on your mind, my dear. Olivia Collins. Well, not something else, but someone else. Barnabas Collins. Oh, who might that be? Olivia Collins. His name is John Tate. He's so interesting yet dark and mysterious. He was arrested for trying to steal Pete Prescott's truck. He's in jail right now. He seems so terrified, but not by the sheriff or even the idea of going to jail. He seemed terrified by something or perhaps someone else. Barnabas Collins. I see. This young man must have some trouble in his life, and he has ran from it all this time. He wanted to keep on running. I am curious what the trouble might be. I must meet this boy in person. You said the sheriff arrested him? Olivia Collins. Yes, he should still be in jail. Barnabas Collins. Well, I must pay this young man a visit. Then, you go home now, and I'll see you tomorrow night at the party. I promise. Olivia Collins. Oh, thank you, Cousin Barnabas. This really means a lot to me. Good night. Barnabas Collins. Good night, my dear. Barnabas walks Olivia to the door. Olivia grabs her coat, puts it on. She goes back outside into the cold. Though it is no longer snowing, there is still such a chill in the air, especially in the night. It is so cold one would think the hand of death is near. Barnabas grabs his coat and goes out into the night, closing the door of the old house behind him. After he does this, he immediately disappears into the night, like he has done 1,000 times over. The well 200 years he has been alive as a vampire. Meanwhile, in the town of Collinsport, in the jail, John Tate lays down on the bed, with his head over his eyes inside the cell. And And while Deputy Hawk sits in her chair beside her desk, asleep. Now on the wall of John's cell a shadow is cast. It is the shadow of a man. John removes his arm from over his eyes and looks toward the wall to see the shadow. He sits up from the bed and looks to see a man with a wolf's head cane, all dressed in black, standing in, in front of his cell. Barnabas Collins. Good evening, John. Barnabas's voice wakes Deputy Hawk. She jumps out of her seat, almost pulling her gun from her holster. Deputy Linda Hawk. Oh my God, Mr. Collins, you scared me. I'm glad you weren't the sheriff. He would have yelled at me for sure for napping on the job. Barnabas Collins. My apologies, Deputy Hawk. I surely didn't mean to scare you. Deputy Linda Hawk. Oh, it's okay. Tomorrow is Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. Barnabas Collins. Oh, is that what the young folks say? Deputy Linda Hunt. No, just my idiot husband. Barnabas Collins. Oh, I see. Deputy, I would like to speak to Sheriff Hopper if I could. Deputy Linda Hawk. Well, you'll have to wait. He went to go investigate the crash this young man had just outside of town. He should be back very soon, actually. I thought you were him. Barnabas Collins. Oh, I see. Well, I'm not. Well, while I wait for the sheriff, is it alright if I speak to the young man? Deputy Linda Hawk. Sure, I don't see why not. Barnabas turns back around and faces John, who is standing up. Barnabas Collins. So you're John Tate, the young man my cousin Olivia spoke of. John Tate. Cousin Olivia? Who, you mean that girl who told me that this town is named after her family? Barnabas Collins. Yes, that would be the one. John approaches the bars on the cell, coming face to face with Barnabas. John remembers coming in the doors to the sheriff's office. He remembers the door making a loud squeaking sound when he came in. He knows he didn't hear the sound when the man who was standing in front of his cell came in. John Tate. How did you get in here without making a sound? That door squeaks. I know that because it squeaked when the sheriff brought me in here. And who the hell are you? Barnabas Collins. Well, I have always had an uncanny ability to sneak in and out of places. As far as who I am, my name is... Just then, Sheriff Chance Hopper cuts him off. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Why, Barnabas Collins, what do I owe this honor? Barnabas Collins. Well, my cousin told me about the young man you arrested, and I wanted to come see him for myself. My apologies, if I'm causing any intrusion, Sheriff Chance Hopper. No, not at all, Barnabas. I just got back from writing down this young man's license plate. Deputy Hawk. I want you to run this plate through our computer. Sheriff Hopper hands Deputy Hawk the piece of paper, and Deputy Hawk types it in the computer. Deputy Linda Hawk. Stolen, sir. The car he was driving was reported stolen well over a month ago. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Well, well. Why am I not surprised? I got you, you son of a bitch. John Tate. Listen to me, Sheriff. Sheriff Hopper cuts him off. Sheriff Chance Hopper. I'm tired of listening to you. I don't listen to thieves. John Tate. Please let me go. I don't want anyone's death on my conscience. Just then, Sheriff Hopper pulls out his nightstick, walks over to John's cell, and strikes the bars. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Knock that shit off. No one is going to die as long as a piece of shit like you remains locked up. Barnabas raises his eyebrows. Barnabas Collins. Sheriff, do you mind if I hear the young man's story? My cousin was telling me about this young man has made me curious. The sheriff puts away his nightstick and walks to his desk and sits down. Sheriff Chance Hopper. If you want to listen to him, Barnabas, go right ahead. John Tate looks at Barnabas. Finds this man so polite and gentle with a name so old, John can't help but think it's almost like Barnabas comes from another world. John Tate. Barnabas, huh? What the hell kind of name is that? Were your parents high when they named you? Barnabas smiles. Barnabas Collins. No. My parents were very simple people with simple needs and wants. So, are you going to tell me your story? John Tate. In 1998, my uncle found my mom and tried to kill her. He killed other people trying to get to her, and he failed. Then 3 years later, in 2001, he found her again. He got her that time, then some college kids along with an entertainment business explored his house. He killed most of them except two. His name is Michael Myers. His first murder was 1963. Killed his sister, Judith. And 15 years later, he went after my mom in 1978. He murdered 10 people. His doctor shot him 6 times. He escaped then. In a hospital, his doctor nearly killed him by setting him on fire. It didn't work, though. I found out something my mother never knew, though. Through the internet, is my sister Jamie, who my mom thought was died during childbirth, was alive. But she too was killed by Michael in 1995, and well, you know the rest. He comes on Halloween and leaves a lot of bodies in the process. Sheriff Chance Hopper. You forgot to mention the FBI declared Michael Myers legally dead in 2002. He was taken to the federal morgue and pronounced dead. John Tate. They lied. He's not dead. That kind of evil doesn't die like a normal man. Not like you and me, Barnabas. Barnabas is looking right into John's eyes. He can see something so familiar. He can see John's fear. Not just John's fear in his eyes, but the fear in his very soul. Barnabas knows John is telling the truth. Sorry, it gets so hard to read and tiring to do this. John Tate notices Barnabas's concerned look. John Tate. Help me, goddamn you. You know I'm telling the truth, don't you? Please? Barnabas Collins. I know no such thing. Lying straight through his teeth. I bid you all a good night. Barnabas leaves the sheriff's office and goes outside and begins to think to himself. Barnabas Collins. That boy is telling the truth. I've seen that look of fear before. It's the same fear I've seen in my victims. What kind of man could cause that type of fear? Barnabas disappears into the night. Meanwhile, back at Collinwood, Olivia in her room, lying in her bed, getting ready to fall asleep. Just then, Collins appears in her room. Olivia sees him. Olivia Collins. You know, I'm trying to get used to you doing that. Barnabas Collins. I'm sorry for the late visit, but it will be dawn, and I must ask you a favor. Olivia Collins. What is it? Barnabas Collins. I would like you to look up any and all information about Michael Myers. He is a serial killer. Olivia Collins. Sure thing, Barnabas. Barnabas Collins. Thank you, my dear, and good night. Olivia falls asleep without saying good night back. And as easy as he appeared, Barnabas Collins disappears back into his coffin as dawn approaches. October 31st, Halloween in Collinsport. It is morning in Collinsport and it is snowing. Schools have already issued a 2-hour delay and have advised all students through public broadcast to walk to school. Meanwhile, Sheriff Chance Hopper has taken John Tate before the judge. We see Deputy Linda Hawk and tow trucker owner Ed Jacobs by the car that John not only stole but crashed. And as well, the snowing has caused a sort of snow-like fog, and visibility is very limited. While Ed is attaching the tow to the car, Linda is standing there watching him, but in the dense snow and poor visibility, Linda, Ed, and the entire town of Collinsport are unaware of the danger, and that danger is walking up right behind and grabs her by the hair and slits her throat ear to ear. Linda drops dead. Michael then walks up behind Ed and stabs him in the back, lifting him straight in the air, watching his feet dangle. Ed is now lifeless, and Michael pulls the knife from Ed's back with ease. Michael then turns and continues walking. After a short while, Michael reaches the very same sign John did, "Welcome to Collinsport." Michael walks past the sign. Goodness. Without even looking at it. Meanwhile, in the very same diner we saw Olivia in just a day ago, we see short order cook and waitress Amy Crawford working the diner all by herself. She is standing there cleaning the counter off before any customers come in. Standing outside the door of the diner is Michael Myers, watching the young girl clean. He walks through the diner door, touches the bell, letting Amy know someone has come in. Amy Crawford, "Be with you in a moment. Just sit at one of the tables, please." Amy realizes the person hasn't responded to her, so she turns around. When she does, she gets a knife into her stomach for her trouble. Her mouth open, struggling to speak. Michael pushes her behind the counter with the blood dripping from Amy's stomach. He pulls the knife out of Amy's lifeless body. Just then, the hotel clerk, Billy Martin, decides to walk from behind the hotel counter and into the small diner. When he does, he's greeted by Michael grabbing him by the throat, lifting him into the air, and stabbing him in the chest. He just lets Billy's lifeless body hang in there, just like the many Halloween decorations that are hanging in the diner. Michael walks behind the kitchen counter and gets a butcher knife and walks out of the diner. As he does, he spots a group of teenagers walking. So he follows them. Meanwhile, Sheriff Chance Hopper and John Tate are just now exiting the courtroom. John still in handcuffs and Sheriff looking annoyed. Sheriff Chance Hopper, "I can't believe that Judge Logan only gave you 6 days in jail, you lucky son of a bitch." John Tate, "Don't worry, you'll soon find out how unlucky I really am, because when Michael gets here, the sheriff cuts him off and grabs John by his coat." Sheriff Chance Hopper, "Look, I've had enough of that. I know that bastard murdered your mom and messed your life up. I have to go back and edit some of this. But that's no excuse for stealing people's cars or trying to steal someone's truck." So the sheriff takes John and they begin walking out of the courthouse and back to the sheriff's office. Meanwhile, up high on top Widow's Hill, We see Olivia Collins in her bedroom, still in her pajamas. She has her laptop open, reading every article she could find about Michael Myers. As soon as she types in his name and hits enter, it has a lot of newspaper headlines come up. Olivia Collins, oh my God, John was right. Olivia shuts her laptop and changes out of her pajamas and gets dressed in winter attire. She then runs out of her room through the hallway and reaches the top of the staircase. As she does, she sees that catering has arrived early to begin preparing for the Halloween party. Her father is standing in the foyer watching at least 3 cooks and 8 waiters come in the door. Olivia comes down the stairs. Howard sees Olivia. Howard Collins. Olivia, my dear, I told you that catering would arrive, and look, here they are. Olivia grabs her coat off the coat hanger. Howard Collins. Olivia, where are you going? Olivia Collins. To break John out of jail. Howard Collins. Jail? Howard Collins. Hold on a second. There. What's all this about? Olivia Collins. I found out why John is so scared. His uncle is Michael Myers. He's a serial killer who kills people on Halloween, Dad. We can't just let him in jail. Howard Collins. Hold on a second. Howard goes into the drawing room and gets a 6-shooter revolver with some... He takes some extra bullets. Yes, the same revolver Roger Collins owned. He walks out of the drawing room loading the gun. Olivia Collins. Dad! Howard Collins. Well, I'm not going to lose my only child to some maniac. Howard then grabs his coat and puts it on. Howard Collins. You know, I should probably get Barnabas to help me. Olivia Collins. Oh, Dad, you can't. He's in Bangor during the day, remember? Howard Collins. Oh, that's right. Then let's go and get him out then. He's being John Tate. Meanwhile, back at our sheriff's office, Hopper walks in with John Tate, still in handcuffs. He opens John's cell and unhandcuffs him and places him back in his cell. He closes the door and locks it. All the while, Officer Lance Holt and Officer Jason Lakes look on. Sheriff Hopper looks at John. Sheriff Chance Hopper, now, not one word out of you, because if you say anything, I mean anything, I'll come in there and knock your teeth out. The sheriff turns and looks around. He doesn't see Deputy Hawk. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Hey, where the hell is Deputy Hawk? She should have been back by now. Jason Lakes. Well, sir, she hasn't come back yet. Meanwhile, we see a snowplow driver named Gary Williams coming down the road. He is driving slow due to the poor visibility. The one thing he can now see is red and blue lights flashing. He brings his snowplow to a stop. Gary Williams gets out of his plow. He approaches the tow truck and sees 2 bodies. Gary Williams, sorry. My God. Gary goes back to his plow and grabs his CB radio and gets on it. Meanwhile, at the sheriff's office, their telephone begins to ring. I'm so tired. Sorry. Lance Holt answers the phone. Lance Holt, Sheriff's Department. Are you sure? The sheriff, Officer Lakes, and John Tate look over at Officer Holt. Lance Holt. All right, I'll let him know. Officer Holt hangs up the phone. Lance Holt. Sheriff, Sheriff Chance Hopper. Well, what is it? Lance Holt goes silent, his entire body numb from what he was just told over the phone. Sheriff Chance Hopper. For God's sakes, sake, Lance, spit it out, will you? Lance Holt. Jonathan Curtis Snow Plowing Company just called. They got a report from one of the drivers that there are two bodies of that of tow truck worker Ed Jacobs and Deputy Linda Hawk. They've been murdered, sir. Sheriff Chance Hopper. What? Are you sure? Officer Lance Holt. Yes, sir. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Officer Lakes grabs a shotgun. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Officer Lakes, grab a shotgun and come with me. Officer Holt, you stay here with Mr. Tate. As Officer Lakes gets his shotgun, Sheriff Hopper and John Tate just stare at each other. Oh, goodness. I lost my place on them. Sorry. Stare at each other. No words, just eye contact. John begins to shake his head at the sheriff. Jason Lakes grabs his shotgun and he and the sheriff walk out of the sheriff's office. They get into the sheriff's SUV and they soon pull off and head out of town. The accident and murders have taken place out of town, where the accident and murders have taken place, unaware of the other two murders that have already happened. Meanwhile, in the Stokes area high school, we see four teenagers Michael's been stalking enter the high school. Even though there was a 2-hour delay, they are late. It is already 1:30 p.m. in the afternoon. There isn't much school left. Jake Edwards, Jesse Oates, and are members of the football team, and just standing in the halls and not bothering to even go to class, while Jill Adams and Brett Banks head to their classes. Just then, Michael is standing in the hallway. Jake Edwards and Jesse Oates spot him, unaware of who he is. They begin teasing him, thinking he's just a student, and accost him. Jesse Oates. Hey, nerd, what the fuck are you supposed to be? A long-lost retard? Jake and Jesse begin laughing. Jake Edwards. Probably some dumbass who thinks it's cool to dress up for Halloween. Just then, Jake turns around and opens his locker. As Michael walks closer to them, he stabs Jesse in the stomach, causing his head to hit the locker. As Michael pulls the knife out, Jake shuts his locker. Jake Edwards, what the fuck? Michael drops the knife and squeezes his head, crushing it like a grape. Just then we see Lisa Long come out of a class with a hall pass from her teacher. She is walking in the direction where Jake and Jesse are. She walks down the long hallway, then turns the corner, only to be grabbed by Michael Myers and stabbed repeatedly. She drops two books she was carrying. The sound of the books hitting the floor makes teacher Wendy Sayer jump. She looks at her science class. Wendy Sayer, excuse me. She just barely opens her classroom door. Michael jerks the door, causing her to fall into his knife right into her chest. One of the students, Kate Keys, sees what's happening and screams. One of the students, basketball star Luke Jordan, tries to help by running over. He throws a punch at Michael and connects. His punch has little to no effect on the killer, so he tries again. When he throws a second punch, Michael grabs his fist and begins squeezing. Luke's bones begin to break. He lets out a painful scream. This scream echoes throughout the hallway. Michael then drops his knife and begins to take Luke's head and slams it against the desk. As he does this, the rest of the classroom runs past him, not even bothering to help their classmate. Too terrified to help, the near 7-foot center was just being manhandled like a child. One of the girls in the classroom, Heather Glass, finds a fire alarm and pulls the lever, causing the fire alarm to ring. not only alerting the whole school, but alerting anyone outside of it they need help. Meanwhile, outside of town, we see Sheriff Hopper and Lance Lakes looking at the bodies of Deputy Hawk and Ed Jacobs. Then the two men hear the fire alarm at the school. Sheriff Chance Hopper, come on. Meanwhile, back at the sheriff's office, we see a revolver pointed at Officer Holt. Officer Holt, you're making a mistake, Mr. Collins. Howard Collins and his daughter Olivia are standing there pointing Howard pointing his revolver at Officer Holt. Howard Collins, take your gun belt off and toss it. So Lance Holt does as Howard instructs. Howard Collins, Olivia, get Officer Holt's handcuffs and handcuff his hands behind his chair. So Olivia gets the handcuffs and does indeed handcuff Officer Holt's hands. So his chair then. Howard gets the jail keys and lets John out of jail. John Tate, thank you. Howard Collins, don't thank me, thank my daughter. This was her idea. John looks at Olivia and shakes his head at her. John Tate, you always do stuff this crazy? Olivia Collins, if you only knew my family history the way I know about what has happened in your life. John Tate, let me guess, the internet? Olivia Collins, yep. So John, Howard, and Olivia leave the sheriff's office to get into the Hummer. Howard, who is drives them back toward Collinwood. John Tate, no, you gotta get me out of town. Howard Collins, listen, there's no safer place than our home for you right now. You want us to trust you. Well, my dear fellow, you need to trust us as well. We're taking just as much chance on you as this whole situation. We're all in this now, whether you like it or not. John Tate, it's your funeral. Howard Collins, that's the spirit. So while Howard, John, and Olivia head toward the great house, Sheriff Hopper and Jason Lakes have finally arrived at the high school. They get out of the SUV to see students running past them in sheer terror. Both Sheriff Hopper and Officer Lakes grab their shotguns and head into the high school. As soon as they get there, they see two lifeless bodies just up ahead. Jason Lakes, oh my God, Sheriff Chance Hopper, let's head to the office and see if there's anyone in there. So the sheriff and Officer Lakes head to the school's office, and see the secretary sitting in her chair with the phone cord wrapped around her neck. Just then they look over at the principal's door to see him hanging there by his own necktie. Oh goodness. While it will take several hours to search the school for Michael, meanwhile, back at Collinwood, Howard, Olivia, and John have arrived at the great house. They go inside, and Howard locks the doors of the great house. John Tate, that won't do anything. Howard Collins, well, you're full of good news. Just then, one of the waiters for the Halloween party, Henry Waffles, comes out. Henry Waffles, sir, the food is ready. Howard Collins, well, it is 5 p.m., so we have time to eat. John Tate, I don't know. I'm surprised he's not here already. He must be waiting until it gets dark. We may have some time. John, Howard, and Olivia go to eat. After they finish, it is now 6:50 p.m. and the sun is nearly down. It is almost nighttime. 10 minutes later, the grandfather clock in the foyer of the great house chimes 7 times, signaling it is nighttime. 7 p.m. Darkness has come to Collinwood, and with the darkness we see Barnabas Collins rise from his coffin in the old house. He steps out of his coffin and goes upstairs. Meanwhile, back at Collinwood, we see Howard Collins, his daughter Olivia, and John Tate. John is holding a double-barrel shotgun, and Howard his revolver. They do not have to wait long. The power has gone out of the house. Howard and Olivia look at John. John Tate, he's here. They wait for Michael to come through the closed doors of the drawing room. John is the closest, considering he has the stronger weapon, while Howard stands just to the left and Olivia waits by the glass window in the drawing room. Just then, Michael jumps through the glass window, grabbing Olivia. John realizes he has no shot without hitting Olivia. Neither does Howard. So as Michael raises his knife to stab Olivia and kill her, Howard runs over, pushing his daughter out of the way. The knife goes down straight into Howard's chest. Olivia watched it happen. John fires the shotgun both barrels as soon as Howard's body hits the floor, sending Michael back outside. Olivia moves right beside her dad. She is over him, watching him choke to death on his own blood. Howard tries to tell her he loves her, but he can't. Olivia, with tears coming out of her eyes and down her cheek, Olivia screams for one person, Olivia Collins. Barnabas! Now, at the old house, Barnabas gets out of his chair and goes over and gets his coat and wolf's head cane. Just then, Leonard comes into the old house. Leonard, Barnabas, I heard gunfire, and Olivia screamed. Barnabas Collins, as did I, Leonard. Listen to me. Upstairs in the first room on the right, there's an old bolt-action rifle with some ammunition. Get it and come to Collinwood. Leonard, yes, Barnabas. Like he's done 1,000 times before, Barnabas disappears into the night. Meanwhile, back at the great house, Michael sits up and gets to his feet. John hasn't had time to reload the gun. He does. He goes over and grabs Olivia. John Tate, come on! Olivia gets to her feet as Michael makes his way through the broken glass window. He walks toward them. Both of them. Both John and Olivia. John reaches for the drawing room door and tries to open it. It's jammed. Michael inches closer. He raises his knife. Just then, they all hear a voice, long familiar to those at Collinwood. Barnabas Collins. I don't believe you were invited to the party, Michael. Michael stops and looks around, but doesn't see anyone. Just then, Michael is lifted off his feet and thrown across the room into the bookcase in the drawing room. Just then, Barnabas appears in front of both Olivia and John. Olivia Collins. Barnabas. Barnabas looks at John with his vampire teeth showing. Barnabas Collins. Get her out of here now. John Tate. Holy shit. Yeah, for sure. Just then, the drawing room doors come unjammed, and Olivia and John run from the great house. Just then, as Michael tries to get up, Barnabas picks him back up and throws him out back through the window that he broke. Barnabas disappears and reappears and begins to strike Michael in the head with his wolf's head cane. After 3 hits, Michael finally grabs the cane, breaks it. Barnabas disappears and Michael, who still has his knife, in his hand, tries to swing his knife, his knife at Barnabas, but Barnabas just disappears and laughs. Michael is now to his feet and looks around. Just then a wild dog appears attacking Michael. The dog is actually Barnabas, one of his many vampire tricks, but Michael still has his knife and stabs at Barnabas in his dog-like form. As Barnabas goes back to his normal form, a shape of a man, sorry, I'm trying to read this. Shape of a man he is. Michael gets up. Barnabas turns into a bat and begins to fly. Michael follows him. After a while, Barnabas is standing at Widow's heel. Michael arrives and Barnabas is standing there just looking at him. Barnabas Collins. Well, what are you waiting for? Michael walks toward him with his knife still in hand. Michael goes to stab Barnabas, but Barnabas blocks him by grabbing Michael's hand with his right hand. Barnabas uses his left hand. To grab Michael by the throat. Michael uses his left hand and grabs Barnabas by the throat. Barnabas's vision begins to go blurry as the two begin to sort of spin around. Near the cliff on top of Widow's Hill, Barnabas Collins can't help but wonder, what kind of man is this to possess such strength to withstand the beating and vampiric attack Barnabas is giving Michael? Barnabas begins to wonder, is he even a man at all, or is this some kind of supernatural force to be reckoned with? Just then Barnabas pushes Michael away, but this allows Michael to lunge at Barnabas with his knife. It just misses Barnabas's chest, but it's so close to his heart, he begins to tumble back. Michael can't pull the knife from Barnabas's chest, and Michael is still holding the knife handle, which allows Barnabas to grab Michael by the wrist. Barnabas Collins. Oh no, Michael. If I'm going to hell, you're coming with me. Barnabas leans back, pulling him and Michael. They fall from 1,000 feet, both of them hitting the rocks, rolling into the icy cold Atlantic. Just then, Olivia, John, and Leonard run toward the cliff. When they get there, all 3 of them are looking down. Olivia Collins. Barnabas! Leonard, is he dead? The killer, I mean? John Tate. It will never die. November 1st. Morning has come to Collinsport, and all through the town we see the state police officers. And up on Collinwood we see Sheriff Chance Hopper talking to Olivia Collins. Sheriff Chance Hopper. Okay, Olivia. Where's John Tate? And where's his uncle? Olivia looks at Sheriff Hopper. Olivia Collins. A little late to the party, aren't you, Sheriff? The Believin' Party? Sheriff Chance Hopper. Just wanted to let you to know we never found Barnabas or Michael's bodies. Olivia looks at Sheriff Hopper all the meanwhile at the old house. In the basement, inside a coffin, is Barnabas Collins asleep. No knife wound, as the Halloween theme plays. Alright guys, hope you liked this video. This was written by me, Joel Sainz. Let me know what you guys think. Like, share, comment, subscribe.